Welcome back to another FFPC Weekly Preview. I'm your host, Aidan Liquorie. Joining me as always, Dave Terp. Terp, we took last week off Thanksgiving. Many congratulations from us here at the FFPC family. Birth of your daughter, Stassi. Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you. She's great. She's a bundle of joy.
we'd love to hear that. We're looking forward to her joining us for her analysis on the live
Don't
drafts.
worry, I'll get her on a draft next year.
Yeah, we want to hear all
She'll
her.
probably pick better than me in some cases.
Maybe. I mean, and I'm sure if she takes after her father, she's going to be critiquing people's drafts all
She'll
summer.
have a potty mouth. Don't worry about that.
For sure. So we were busy last week, but we're back for this week. Terp, let's jump right into it. Give me your friend. Don't let friends start. Who are you down on this week for?
The most popular free agent pickup this week was Zonovan Knight.
Yeah.
With Michael Carter iffy for the weekend, he's a guy that not a single fantasy football owner has heard of probably before last week. Never even knew he was probably even on the Jets. But he's the guy that's going to be leading you into the playoffs. The first week of the FFPC playoffs and the Football Guys playoffs, and all the other playoffs that are going on. He's the guy that you spend all your fab on, but he's also the guy that, like I said, you don't know anything about. They're playing a good Minnesota team, a team that has to win on the road. Mike White, he's the second coming of Josh Allen now. I expect the Jets to get rolled in that game, and Zonovan Knight, I don't see what everybody else sees as a guy that you're going to start in your FFPC playoffs. Ty Johnson's still there. There's whispers of James Robinson maybe being active this week. But, I mean, who knows with him. But you also have, like I said, you have a team that's going on the road against a defense that's hungry and also a team that has to win to keep, with the Eagles and hopefully get a chance at home field advantage. So Zonovan Knight is the guy that I am not starting this week.
I mean, who could have told you at the start of the year that the trendiest name is Zonovan?
It's wild, man. I mean, like I was looking at some of the free agents, in my main events that are in the playoffs. The guys who are picking out like Zonovan Knight, like I don't even know where the guy. I know where guys go to college. I know all that stuff. I have no clue whatsoever where he went to college, where he came from, if he's even a real person.
He went to North Carolina State.
That's something I learned today.
So, yeah, I mean, just you wrote him, but you're saying we were. I think you make a good point though with Ty Johnson's there. It almost just seems like one of those situations where you should just stay away from the Jets' run game, like unless you're in desperate need. It's just.
I mean, bye weeks are still, obviously,
Yeah, the Panthers
an issue. I mean, injuries obviously a big issue. Questions on Josh Jacobs and players like that might not play, and also literally everywhere in the NFL right now, running back questions are there. So if you picked him up and you spend a ton of money on him and you're desperate, you got to do what you got to do. But if you have options, he's not an option I'm picking.
Yeah, anytime you mention Josh Jacobs, anytime I see Josh Jacobs have a monster game, I just think back to the
100%.
10K draft we covered and the guy who took him in the fourth round, and we just were like ripping the pick. I wonder if that guy's looking back and laughing at us.
And I'm sure he's spending a lot of money right now, but at the end of the day, I would go back and do it again. I mean, and every single person, like if you drafted Josh Jacobs this year, congratulations. You deserve it. You earned it. The pick worked out. The pick was great. I mean, I can't say anything negative about it. But the process is not wrong. Josh Jacobs played the first preseason game. Like nobody saw what's coming. Nobody. No. If you can't come on any show and be like, yeah, I saw Josh Jacobs coming. All the smartest minds in the fantasy football world, guys that are the Bible when it comes to people that I follow, are 1%, 2% Josh Jacobs by accident. So no. But that name just gives me nightmares because in my main event this week, I played Josh Jacobs. So I'm praying to the fantasy gods that Josh Jacobs just decides this week the calf's just not ready to go. Take a week off, relax. Because they play the Chargers, and the Chargers can't stop a single soul on the ground. So
it's crazy how he's become like the league winner. Like this Fantasy Mojo, follow him on Twitter.
I saw that, and that's an insane stat. That makes you literally want to go play in traffic.
If I'll repeat it, I believe 48 of 100 of the FFPC Main Event of the top 100. So 48 of them. So essentially every 1 and 2 top 100 main events teams roster Josh Jacobs. That and Travis Kelce are just the two where it's Travis Kelce was maybe it was obviously known he's going in the first rounds, but I don't think we underrated him, but you didn't think about how much of a goal forward.
I definitely underrated Kelce. I didn't expect the margin to be as big as it is in the tight end position when it comes to him.
but Jacobs is nuts. Josh Jacobs said, quotes, "Don't draft me fantasy." There was every single report was they're going to use multiple guys. He's playing in the preseason, the Hall of Fame game.
Samir
Nothing.
White this, Amir Abdullah that.
Just crazy. And it wasn't, and we can go on and on about Jacobs, and I'm sure we'll honestly cover it next summer when we're breaking down is there a Josh Jacobs here who we're missing? But Jacobs, he had the volume to sustain it, but he didn't have the yardage outputs, the numbers, the usage that he's seen this year that he did in past years. It was just a lot
He's
of
incredible, and like I always liked the talent coming out of Alabama, but he just never could figure it out. I mean, coaching, whatever it was, but this year something's clicked, and
I wonder if he gets re-signed. He is a unrestricted free
how
agent.
do you not resign him? I mean, but it's the Raiders, so you just never know.
And what's crazy, if he re-signs with the Raiders, a very strong chance I'm entirely off of him again next year.
Yeah, you have to stay on the bridge of just fading him. I mean, the numbers he's putting up this year, like I'm pretty sure it's him and Austin Eckler are the top two players in fantasy football right now. Mm-hmm. And Austin Eckler is only pretty much there because he's catching 9,000 balls.
He's a receiver,
So, I mean, Eckler, if this continues, he's always going to be up there, and he probably should be up there. But the Josh Jacobs, I mean, 89-yard touchdowns, like 200 yards rushing, like I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, good for the teams. But I'd say this: if my main event teams don't have Josh Jacobs, I would love to get into the dance without him because it's the perfect fade spot. If he's a tough three matchups in the playoffs, in the shootout at the end, and if you could find a way for him to not be good, that's a ton of teams that are sitting there with Josh Jacobs that if he goes out and clunks 3 games or if he gets a little banged up and misses a game, you could have a big advantage. So that number is scary. Like you want to go play in traffic, but if you get in without Josh Jacobs, it could be fun for you.
We're going off on a major sidebar here, but early on, because we're gonna, as we've said a couple times on these, that we're gonna be doing our never too early best ball draft coverage where we're going in live before we know it. Who's the number 1 pick next year? Is it a Diggs, Jefferson? Does it lean receiver or does an ETN somehow sneak in there? Is it McCaffrey?
The problem with next year is like everybody's going to use the mentality of like this year that's been successful. I mean, outside of Eckler, you can say McCaffrey too, but not really. It's been a 0 RB type of build that's been very, very successful. I mean, the Jeffersons, the Cup before he got hurt, Chase before he got hurt was doing well. And all obviously the middle guys like Tyreek Hill and guys like that. Yeah, there's definitely some landmines in there, but like outside of Eckler, Jonathan Taylor has been not good. Obviously injured, but not good before that. Mm-hmm. I mean, DeAndre Swift, nothing. Saquon Barkley starting to fall off a little bit. He was great at the beginning of the season, but not really.
Yeah, the Giants have kind of hit with injuries. They've tailed off, and Saquon's kind of tailed off there. Saquon, I think, could be a contender. If I'm like,
you're an outside the box contender. I said this on one of these shows a long time ago.
Pollard?
Somebody asked me the question, where would Tony Pollard be if Ezekiel Elliott wasn't around? And if he's not there and it's just Tony Pollard, I have no issues whatsoever taking Tony Pollard as the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I like how you're doubling down, but I'm putting you on the spot. This is August 2023. We're doing one of the live drafts. Who's the top pick? I'm saying right now, I'm saying Jefferson. Yeah,
Jefferson.
But I wonder
I feel like Kelsey's. He's definitely a top 5 slam dunk pick next year.
Again, I just think people are going to look at how he performed this year and the gulf between him and tight end 2 and how much he was a league winner.
And that could be a mistake next year. That could be a mistake that people are going to run into where they think it's going to be the big gap that they saw this year and just keep pumping Kelsey. And this could be the year that many people thought, including myself, this year he was going to fall back a little bit. It didn't happen, but eventually with his age, it's going to happen. So could that be next year when people are, putting him in the top 3, top 5? It's possible. But I think Jefferson's probably he's probably, I'd probably go Jefferson. You could probably put Eckler up there just because, like, again, he catches a ton of passes. I mean, he doesn't play at 100% of the snaps, which is a worry, but still the upside's there with a really solid floor.
Yeah, my maybe not really hot take. If he didn't tear his ACL, I genuinely think Breece Hall would have had consideration for a top 3 pick next year if he continued.
I don't disagree.
The ACL is going to slow.
Only if Zach Wilson was not the quarterback.
Yeah, I think if he seemed pretty QB proof in his rookie year, the ACL is going to slow things. I'm intrigued his draft spot. I would assume it's probably mid second, late second, but I'm already excited for next year's. That shows you
Blood's already flowing.
how I've been doing this year, when I'm already looking ahead to 2023.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's been a great overall year. We got some bullets that are in the chamber still. Definitely some teams that should advance, in the best ball tournament. So hopefully they all work out. At least get me to a final. That'd be awesome. But my main event team, we got a hard matchup this week. So Ramondre Stevenson this week. Let's go tonight. Let's put a 30 burger out there, and let's just start us off, positive, and let's get to the championship next week.
We're this show and everyone here. We don't pick favorites in these FFPC events, but you are our favorite. We're rooting for you there. We went on the big sidebar there, but I'll just.
I like sidebars.
Oh,
we haven't had a good sidebar in a while.
We haven't. We've been pretty quick. That is a staple of our live draft coverage. There is the sidebars. But my guy I'm off on, Alvin Kamara. Talk about a guy who tailed off, who had that midseason, like right after the slow start, then the midseason renaissance. We're like, yep, this is why he was you and me both were calling for
him. I don't get it. It's so frustrating.
And last week, he hasn't had over 50 rushing or receiving yards over the last 4 games. The volume catches that he was getting with Dalton are gone. Last week, 2 fumbles, including one at the 1-yard line, which was brutal, which kind of set the stage. But all of those factors, the lack of total yards, not getting the targets and catches he used to.
Stupid case in hell.
Yeah, and a couple of fumbles the previous week. Just I am off of him this week. I'm not seeing it anymore. So he's scared.
My best ball team is in the top 20. I'm pretty sure it's in the top 20. I could be off, but it's definitely high up there.
Yeah.
My receivers are light, like absolute, just nasty with Josh Allen. But my main 3 running backs are Kamara, Dameon Pierce, and Rachaad White. Alvin Kamara,
what a
figure it out, please.
Say if Pierce is hitting that wall.
Dameon Pierce, one of you 3 just figure it out, because the receivers are just at not a single injury. Knock on wood. I probably just jinxed myself.
Yeah.
Christian Watson on the team, like just get me there, please.
Yeah. And Rachaad White is feeling great, but just how much that situation sucks. I own both of them.
Sucks. You got Josh Allen, Diggs.
Fournette's going to get his, but I think White should be the starter. This week's going to be kind of big to show there. But we'll track all that. Terp, though, our favorite one, the 2 touchdown guarantee. Who are you riding with this week?
He's back this week. Cincinnati is going to beat Kansas City, and the main reason behind that is the return of Jamar Chase. Safeties chirping this week. Like, come on, man. Like, I like the Bengals. The Bengals are a team that's been under the radar. They got a ton of talent. They've won all these games without Chase. He's back, and he's going to come out and make a statement this week in a game that is a rematch of the playoffs last year when the Bengals won, and most people gave him no shot in that game. Obviously, Kansas City's riding high. Mahomes he's the MVP right now. I have a lot of Jalen Hurts' future, so it's painful for me to say that, but Mahomes is the MVP. So hopefully he goes out there and throws a clunker this week. That'd be great for my MVP chances. But Jamar Chase, 2 touchdown guarantee. I think he comes out there, picks up right where he left off, and shows the world why he's one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in football.
Yeah, and last time Jamar Chase played the Chiefs in the regular season, had one of the greatest fantasy days.
Won people a lot of money.
Yeah, so Jamar Chase, I like the pick. The chirping is honestly the biggest element there. The trash talk, you just know that he's rare and ready.
You know he's getting 1. It's the question of, does he get the 2nd?
I'm going to go with my 2 touchdown guarantee. I'm going to go with another big receiver. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf. Really just playing fantasy-friendly Rams defense, which the Rams are imploding. I mean, they won their Super Bowl, right?
What a disaster.
Disaster of a team.
There's not a single person in the world right now that can tell me they want to start somebody on that team.
Nope.
You have to be the desperate of desperates. No Cooper Kupp, no Allen Robinson, no Matthew Stafford. Tyler Higbee is not even irrelevant anymore. Van Jefferson, I guess, but
no, there's no one
there.
Those
running backs, stop trying to talk to me about Cam Akers and Williams and all those guys. They shipped Darrell Henderson out, which to me made no sense, but whatever. That team is a disaster waiting to happen, and you're not going to see any of those guys back to help you at the end of the season.
Disaster. So yeah, I'm going with DK against that defense. He has gone, I believe, two or 3 weeks without a touchdown. I think he's due. Give me 2 for him.
15 targets last week.
15 last week, 9 the week prior. Yeah, just give me DK for my 2 touchdown. Terp, you almost forgot player who isn't being talked about enough this week.
Revenge spot. Probably not a guy you're going to be starting a ton, but DJ Chark. Mm-hmm. No Jameson Williams back against a team that got rid of him in Jacksonville in a game that could be an undercover shootout type of situation. 2 very suspect defenses and definitely quarterbacks. Jared Goff's been playing fine this year. He's not going to get any credit because they're not great, but he's not the reason why they're where they're at. Trevor Lawrence starting to take the next step. Big win last week against the Ravens. I think that Chark scores a touchdown. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and put up 30 fantasy points, but I could see like a 5 for 80 and a touchdown from DJ Chark.
Talking already about next year, just the name you mentioned, the Trevor Lawrence next year, the buzz is going to be through the roof because Calvin Ridley.
He's going to get the buzz that the Tua, Justin Fields like type of middle round buzz. Doug Peterson, they have some weapons. Christian Kirk's had a great season.
Yeah, when they draft a receiver in the first round, I'm calling my shot. When they draft a receiver in the first round, that's when it's going to go for the week. Yeah, like let's say they get Quentin Johnson, Christian Kirk, and Calvin Ridley. That's a lineup. And then you have ETN, hopefully an improving O-line, I think. And if he continues to track last couple games of the season here where he continues to look like he's starting to figure out, because essentially this is a rookie year for him. I'm almost treating next year as year 2 for him because you got to scrap the Urban Meyer.
You forget the Urban Meyer debacle.
Big year for Lawrence next season. I think he could. He's a nice start in the playoffs. I think in some formats. I think against the Lions.
Agree. He's a great start this week against Detroit. I'll tell you that.
I think.
If it was Lawrence versus Lamar Jackson, give me Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Lamar's been a weird fantasy case after such
weird fantasy player that he doesn't look like. He kind of looks like he's disinterested. He's not running the ball, and also he has no weapons and a terrible matchup this week against the Broncos in a terrible game flow type of situation. The Broncos are just I can't speak about them because they literally make me want to throw up every time I watch them. But
an embarrassing.
Lawrence over Lamar Jackson this week 100 times out of 100.
Yeah. You mentioned the Cincinnati against Kansas City game. You almost forgot. I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. This almost be shooting my shot. He has those random boom games out of nowhere, and I'm also just going, this I think is going to be a shootout. So I kind of want to get involved in all those players. I know T and Jamar are there. I'm essentially going that Tyler Boyd steals some from one of the two. I think it's going to be Jamar or T. One of them goes off, and then Tyler Boyd gets his 2 as the third receiver here. So I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. Get me involved in the shootout. I like him for one of his random boom weeks. He's had a couple this year. I think this week is one of them. Terp, let's finish it off. Play of the week.
A little outside the box on this one. We all know Deshaun Watson's coming back this week. NFL set it up perfectly. Don't tell me they didn't. Let's not. Anybody tries to come out here and say that they didn't plan that his first game back would be against a team that traded him. And that disaster, it's going to be probably televised. I mean, there's going to be reporters and media all over the place. I expect them to come out and struggle a little bit, but Texas defense is abysmal. We saw 30 points by the Dolphins last week in one half of football, and they just stopped playing. So my play of the week is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I feel he's going to get behind the defense at least once, maybe twice, and just light up that secondary who's outside of Derek Stingley is very, very suspect. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be taking shots. They're going to be trying to intercept the ball, make a statement against Watson. I expect a double move here and there. Donovan Peoples-Jones, play of the week.
Yeah, I think Watson, I like it. I know the Texans defense, everything there, but it's also, almost a year and a half?
Without football.
Or 2 years.
He's going to struggle a little bit.
I think a lot. I think that's going to be a weird game. That's going to be a Nick Chubb
game. Imagine the Texans win that game.
I could see it. This is essentially their season. They could very well.
They're not going to win one football game the rest of the year. They're doing everything possible to get that number 1 pick.
I could see them winning because of the emotion charge to get them fired up. I don't know though. Donovan Peoples-Jones is yours. Mine is Christian Kirk. Cooled off a bit last week. As good as everyone in that game was, obviously Etienne got hurt, but he's good. which is good for fantasy owners. But Christian Kirk only had 4 for 46, but prior 2 weeks had 17 catches, 181 yards, 3 touchdowns. I am just predicting he's going to rebound for sure against Detroit, which defense has been terrible. I'm just give me the Jaguars. I just hyped up Trevor Lawrence. I think Christian Kirk is due for a big week as the Jaguars continue to grow and look like a threat for next season and get fantasy.
I like it. I like that call a lot.
So that's going to do it for us. We were back this week after a week off. Terp, best of luck to you and all your teams in the playoffs. To everyone watching, good luck to your guys' teams. Hopefully you made it this far. And we'll be back next week for week 14, and we'll recap everything.
Always good luck, guys. See you.
We will see you guys next week.